Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive where we like to kind of dig into some really cool concepts and hopefully give you some interesting things to think about. Today, we are going to be talking about energy, but not the kind you get from food or sleep or exercise. We're talking about something a little bit more esoteric. We're going to be exploring the ideas from Chapter 11, Energy, in the book Transurfing Reality.
Yeah, this chapter is really fascinating. It kind of turns a lot of our conventional thinking about energy on its head and gives us this whole new framework for understanding how we can tap into a deeper, more powerful source of, energy.
Now, I know transurfing reality has been kind of a recurring theme in some of our recent deep dives, but for anyone who is just tuning in for the first time, can you give us like a quick recap of what this whole transurfing thing is all about?
Sure. So the basic idea is that reality is not this fixed, solid thing, but more like this vast ocean of possibilities. And instead of just being tossed around by the waves, we can learn to surf those waves. We can consciously choose the reality that we want to experience. And a key part of that is understanding and mastering our energy.
Okay, that makes sense. So then how does this chapter specifically fit into that whole framework?
Well, this chapter lays the groundwork for understanding the energy dynamics at play in transurfing. It talks about the difference between the energy that we get from food, like you were talking about. The author calls that physiological energy. And then there's this other type of energy called free energy that comes from the cosmos and flows through us through these things called meridians.
Meridians, is that like an acupuncture?
Yeah, exactly like that. They are like these invisible channels that run through our body, carrying this life force energy. And the width of these meridians determines how much free energy we can access.
So if I'm feeling drained or low energy, does that mean my meridians are narrow?
It could be. Stress is a major culprit when it comes to constricting the meridians and blocking that flow of free energy.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely noticed when I'm stressed out, it's way harder to focus or make decisions. Like my brain just can't function properly.
Exactly. And Transurfing Reality offers a really unique perspective on stress management. It's not just about relaxation, It's about reducing the importance that we place on things.
So instead of trying to eliminate stress altogether, which is, kind of impossible, it's more about changing our mindset and how we react to those stressful situations.
Precisely. And the author even goes so far as to say that we shouldn't aim to accumulate energy reserves because free energy is limitless, it's always available. It's more about learning to access it effectively.
That's an interesting idea. It's kind of like saying we don't need to hoard money because there's an endless supply of wealth out there. We just need to learn how to tap into it.
That's a great analogy. But just like with financial abundance, accessing free energy requires a shift in our thinking and our beliefs.
That makes sense. And speaking of energy drainers, the book also talks about these energy vampires. These people who just seem to zap our energy without even realizing it. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. The author describes 3 types of energy vampires. There's the stealthy type, who kind of drains you with their subtle negativity. Then there's the manipulator who tries to control you and your energy. And then you've got the provocateur who thrives on drama and conflict.
Well, I think we've all met at least one of those types in our lives. But how can we protect ourselves from these energy suckers without becoming complete hermits?
Well, the book emphasizes the importance of strengthening your own energy field and becoming more conscious of your energy levels. There's even a specific visualization technique called the protective shield, where you imagine fountains of energy merging into this protective sphere around your body.
That's interesting. I'm definitely going to try that. But before we get to those exercises, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about the meridians being different in men and women. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's a curious detail, isn't it? According to the book, the central meridian in men runs 1 inch in front of the spine, while in women, it's 2 inches.
Wow, I had no idea. So you're saying there's like a fundamental difference in how men and women access and experience this energy.
That's what the author suggests. And it might explain some of the differences we observe in how men and women manage stress and, express their emotions.
That's fascinating. I'm starting to see how this whole energy framework can really shed light on, some of the mysteries of human behavior.
Exactly. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. The book goes on to explore how energy dynamics influence everything from our health and aging to our ability to manifest our desires.
This is a true deep dive. I am excited to see where this takes us. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's do a quick recap for our listeners of what we've covered so far. So we've learned about 2 types of energy, physiological and free, and how stress can really block our meridians and hinder the flow of that free energy. We've also talked about energy vampires and the importance of protecting our energy field, and this fascinating idea that men and women might actually have different energetic structures.
You got it. Now, are you ready to go a bit deeper into some of these more, mind-bending concepts of transurfing reality?
Absolutely. Let's see where this energy current takes us. All right, so we've talked about this whole free energy idea, but how does it play into aging? I mean, if we have this limitless energy source within us, why do we, seem to run out of steam as we get older?
That's where things get really interesting. Transurfing reality challenges the idea that aging is purely a biological process. The author suggests it's also influenced by societal expectations and these things he calls induced transitions.
Induced transitions, what are the...
It refers to those pre-programmed paths that society kind of lays out for us, like our career path, our relationship status, and even how we age. We're basically following a script that tells us what to expect at each stage of life.
So you're saying we're kind of living out someone else's idea of what our life should be instead of creating our own?
Exactly. And those expectations can become self-fulfilling prophecies. We're told we'll decline with age, so we subconsciously start to act accordingly. It's like we're given this map and we just blindly follow the route without ever questioning, if it's the right destination for us.
That's a pretty radical concept. But if we're unconsciously buying into this aging script, how do we break free and write our own story?
The first step is awareness. Once you recognize that these induced transitions exist, you can start to question them and make conscious choices about how you want to age. It's about taking back control of the narrative and creating a new map, one that reflects your own values and desires.
So it's not about denying the reality of aging, but more about choosing how we experience and embrace it.
Precisely. And that brings us to another fascinating concept from the book, illness pendulums.
Illness pendulums. That sounds kind of ominous.
It might sound scary, but it's actually a really insightful idea. Think of it this way. We live in a society that is obsessed with illness. We're constantly bombarded with messages about, potential health risks and the need for medications.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like we're being conditioned to expect illness as just an inevitable part of life.
Exactly. And this constant focus on illness creates this negative energy field that the author calls an illness pendulum. It feeds on our fear and anxiety and keeps us trapped in this cycle of disease.
So it's not just about avoiding germs or taking vitamins. It's about shifting our whole mindset and our energy away from this illness-focused paradigm.
Precisely. And Transurfing reality encourages us to choose a different game to play, the healing game.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the healing game?
It's about taking a proactive approach to health and well-being. Focusing on what nourishes your body and mind, cultivating positive emotions and believing in your own healing power.
So instead of passively accepting illness as our fate, we're taking an active role in shaping our health and longevity.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have way more control over our health and well-being than we realize. And it all starts with becoming conscious of the energy that we're feeding into the system.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But how do we actually shift our energy from this illness pendulum to the healing game? It seems like a pretty big leap.
It starts with small, conscious choices. Pay attention to the messages you're receiving about health and illness, both from the outside world and from your own internal dialogue. Question those messages and choose to focus on the positive.
So it's like being more mindful of the information we're consuming and the thoughts that we're allowing to take root in our minds.
Exactly. And it also involves cultivating a sense of gratitude for your body and its innate healing capabilities. Focus on what you appreciate about your health, even if it's just, the ability to breathe deeply or take a walk in nature.
Those are good reminders. Sometimes we get so caught up in what's wrong that we forget to appreciate what's right.
Exactly. And by shifting our focus to gratitude and appreciation, we start to raise our vibration and move away from the negativity of that illness pendulum.
I can see how that would help to strengthen our energy field and make us less susceptible to those energy vampires we talked about earlier.
You've got it. It's all connected. By becoming more conscious of our energy and making choices that nourish and protect it, we create this more positive and resilient inner environment.
This is really eye-opening. I'm starting to see how this whole energy framework can be applied to so many different areas of our lives.
It is powerful, isn't it? And we haven't even gotten to the most exciting part yet, the power of intention to actually shape our reality.
Well, I definitely want to hear more about that. But before we move on, I think it would be helpful to do a quick recap for our listeners who might have just tuned in.
Great idea. So far, we've explored this concept of induced transitions and how societal expectations can really influence our aging process. We've also discussed the illness pendulum and how it feeds on negative energy, keeping us trapped in a cycle of disease. And we've touched on the importance of choosing to play the healing game by focusing on, positive emotions, gratitude, and appreciation for our bodies.
You've summed it up perfectly.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the heart of it all. This whole energy of intention thing.
Yeah.
Because that's where the real magic happens, right?
You could say that. The energy of intention is where we really start to see the power of transurfing in action. It's about understanding how our thoughts, emotions, and energy can shape the reality that we experience.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this energy of intention. It sounds like we're about to get into some serious manifestation territory.
Yeah, you could say that. This is where things get really exciting. It's about, actively shaping your reality instead of just reacting to whatever life throws at you.
Okay, but how does that actually work? Is it as simple as, thinking positive thoughts and hoping for the best?
Well, it's a bit more nuanced than that. The book emphasizes that intention works best when it's aligned with both your heart and mind. It's not just about willpower or wishful thinking. It's about having a genuine desire that's fueled by passion and conviction.
So it's not just about thinking I want to be rich, but actually feeling that desire for abundance in your heart.
Exactly. And that's where visualization comes in. Transurfing Reality talks about using visualization to strengthen your intention energy. The author recommends this affirmation: my channels are widening and my intention energy is increasing.
Yeah.
And while you're saying that, you visualize that process happening in your energy field.
So it's like we're creating a mental blueprint for our energy to follow. Can you give me a concrete example of how this would work in real life?
Sure. Let's say you want to attract a new job, one that's more aligned with your passions. You could visualize your meridians becoming wider and brighter, allowing more free energy to flow towards that goal. And at the same time, you could affirm, I am attracting a fulfilling and rewarding job that uses my talents and brings me joy.
And by combining that visualization with a heartfelt belief, you're basically programming your energy to manifest that outcome.
Exactly. It's about aligning your thoughts, emotions, and energy with your desired outcome and creating this powerful force for manifestation.
This is pretty mind-blowing. But there's going to be more to it than just visualization, right? We have to actually take action too, right?
Oh, for sure. Action is important. But it's not about forcing things to happen or trying to control every little detail. It's more about taking inspired action that's aligned with your intention. Think of it like setting the GPS coordinates and then trusting that the right path will unfold as you take each step.
So it's a dance between intention and action. Setting the vision and then taking those steps to move towards it.
Exactly. And sometimes the most powerful action you can take is to just let go of what's no longer serving you and, create space for something new to come in.
That can be tough for those of us who are so used to striving and hustling all the time. But maybe true abundance comes from letting go of that struggle and trusting the flow of life.
It's a paradox, isn't it? The more we surrender to the present moment and trust the universe, the more we open ourselves up to those unexpected blessings and opportunities.
I love that. So it's not about passively waiting for things to happen, but about being open to possibilities and taking action when it feels right.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot between intention and allowing, between effort and surrender. It's about recognizing that we are co-creators of our reality, working in partnership with the universe.
Wow, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. We've learned so much about energy flow and the power of intention to create the life we desire.
It's been a pleasure sharing these ideas with you, and I hope everyone listening feels inspired to start experimenting with these concepts in their own lives.
Absolutely. Remember, everyone, you have a limitless source of energy within you. And with a little practice and awareness, you can harness that energy to create a reality that truly reflects your heart's desires. So until next time, keep diving deep.